morning. Okay. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here today in wonderful Madrid. And we have the pleasure to have here Celia and Carlos. And we're going to be talking about the challenges after this COVID pandemic. I'd like to say after, although we know that it's still not after. But you know, let's be positive. I think everything is going fairly better than 1 or 2 years ago. And let's talk about how this COVID has impacted our air transport industry, beloved air transport industry. So in terms of challenges and trends, and you can speak. What do you think is going to be the role of the technology and digitalization in order to restore back the conditions of safety and security that our passengers were having like 2 years ago?
Well, when it comes to private aviation, it's been a pretty unusual time for everyone. When it comes to us, I would say it's been completely unexpected. So the fear from many passengers to fly airlines has brought them to try private aviation. And the result has been fantastic. They have understood that this sort of way of transportation is not that snob. It's something they can afford. Actually, I'm sure that many more than you believe in this room would be happy to pay for a private jet, and we are now having the big challenge of capturing that pent-up demand and foster loyalty towards that, and keeping those passengers that normally would fly airlines, business class, and keep working with us. That's, I would say, the biggest challenge in our sector.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and
Celia?
Regarding what you were asking about digitalization, so for us, for our customers, I think for everybody that flies, one of the main or the most important thing today is to get information, no? To be aware about restrictions and which is the situation of the destination that you have to fly. And for us, during all period of the COVID, but also now, one of the priorities is exactly that, not to be close to our customer, to communicate with them, and we are taking the advantage of the digital tool to facilitate that, no? To do the process as much seamless as possible, also try to avoid interactions. So, for example, we are developing some tools that allow the customer to upload all the information regarding the test that they have to present or the certificate of vaccine. Everything can be presented in tools that we are developing, and we make the boarding easier. So, to be close to the customer and to facilitate the whole process and to make them feel that they have under control the trip, I think is key. And we are taking the advantage of the digital tools to improve all that.
That's actually very interesting because despite we both work on the same sort of industry,
yeah,
our business is so different that when it comes to digital transformation, our aim is similar to yours, but different in many ways. For example, when it comes to private aviation, we by no means can try to digitalize anything which is to do with customer service or onboard service, because that's basically what we sell,
yeah,
is personal human touch, is exclusivity, you know. However, when it comes to sales, we are now exploring new segments of the population, especially the youngest ones, who would at no point take the phone and call to get a quote, for example. So we need to create apps and digital tools that allow them to get the price for this trip to Ibiza with some friends and get a final price and do all the process online. which at the same point is at the same time is kind of difficult because private aviation doesn't really work with GDSs or tools like Amadeus or Travelport. So it's a challenge.
Yeah. But in the way that you are explaining for your customers, but I think that in everything that we do, we can try to look for ways to do now different, more digital. Yeah, for example, talking also about this period, our customer now can ask for the menu, what they want to have, the food that they want in the flight, just with an app, that before we didn't have it. But of course, thinking how we can, again, reduce the kind of interactions in the aircraft if they don't feel comfortable. Okay, just tell us digitally what you need and we will provide that service. So I think that is helping all of us also to move forward, no?
Absolutely.
And goes with the necessities of the customer, but also with the new generation. Young people is being leading this, no? Also.
Absolutely. Plus, I guess that's also reducing the amount of touch points that a passenger goes through on a day-to-day flight, which is important, and that's something we are seeing also as well in our sector. Like people like private aviation because of the lack of touch points compared to airlines, and people are now kind of afraid of this kind of.
I think we all believe that technology, because of COVID, and we have to say that, has improved the way we are managing many businesses, of course, the airline businesses. And we all agree that after COVID is finalized, great percent of this technology will be still with us. Yeah. So there are many things that we came up in the last 2 years with, and these are going to stay for many more years. No? It's also interesting to see in your own businesses, hasn't been a difference between domestic flights and international flights in relationship with COVID restrictions? How this has been in the last, I would say, 12 months? What can you tell us?
Do you want to kick off?
Yeah, I think yes. I think that in Iberia, for example, from the beginning, even in the period of the hardest with the COVID, we have always maintained a domestic network, in principle, to guarantee connectivity with the islands here in Spain, because it was important with Canary Island and with Balears. But this was in the most hardest moment of the COVID. But then the demand in the domestic start to come easier than with the long haul or with the medium haul, because we have seen that everything is connecting with the restriction. If you have clarity about where you can fly, there is a demand, no? And the customers really request the places that they feel safe and secure about what they have to do and about the situation with the COVID. So the easiest place to fly was the domestic, and the demand has been really big, I have to say, to the most leisure places. Canary Island, for example, we have operated more flights in this summer than in 2019, for example, because this was a clear niche of traffic. But also we have seen opportunities in the long haul, again, connecting with leisure destination, open destination, for example, to Dominican Republic. We have already also more flights this summer than what we used to have in 2019. Or in Mexico, that has been always open. So it's true that the demand has started in the domestic where they have feel more secure with the restriction, but as soon as the markets open, the demand is there and people like to fly. But they have to get all the information. We need to facilitate that as much as possible. And this is where we are focused. And just to give also, I think that we have a responsibility to help the industry to come back, looking where are these opportunities and putting flights to where it is possible to get a demand, because we have a responsibility. And when you try one time to fly, then you repeat, because you see nothing happened at the end.
I do agree with that. We've been feeling this some same sort of trend within the demand. 2020 was very different for us compared to 2021. On 2020, few wanted to fly. Those who were happy to fly would basically leave Madrid to go either to Barcelona, maybe Palma or Ibiza, Malaga, maybe the Canary Islands, but that was at that time too far away for a COVID pandemic. 2021 is different. I think with the relaxation of restrictions, there has been like a spree of demand wanting to go as far as possible. And now what we are seeing is that we are struggling to fly domestic sometimes because people want to go to the Maldives, people want to go to Latin America, people want to go and see family as well. So yeah, 2020 was short haul. I would even say domestic. 2021 is long haul. The big challenge for us, and I don't know if you at Iberia had the same sort of feeling, is that in the worst moment of the pandemic, especially, we were lacking of a trustworthy source of information when it comes to restrictions. Everything was changing by the minute. Of course, we couldn't put that responsibility into our customers. We had to be us informing them on what was needed. Many times that changed from the moment when we first sent the first quotation, the first quote, and up until the day when they were flying. And that was really painful. And we have the difference we have with commercial aviation is that we don't have like a proper network, like a proper route scheme. So for us, it was not possible to simply get all the reliable information on those destinations we serve and then try to do our best or keep monitoring the changes. For us, our network, our routes, our network is the planet itself. We even land on private properties, on cottages.
Really?
Yeah.
So you never knew when a flight was going to be requested. You never knew where to. And our commitment is to have a flight ready in no more than 1 hour and 30 minutes notice. So that's the time you get to be completely sure of what needs to be done on destination.
Yeah.
Another challenge, and I'm trying to be, brief, is that there's this wrong conception from many times from it happened especially during the COVID, that those restrictions on airlines would not apply to private jets. And many people were coming to us trying to circumvent those kind of, well, not to circumvent, but to have a more relaxed restriction scheme. And that wasn't the case. But
It's not like that,
Yeah.
isn't it? No.
It's not like that.
So if you need a PCR or if you need a test to go into whichever country, you have to have that
Absolutely.
before jumping in the plane.
Absolutely, you do have to have it. And that was I even read about this on the news, on the media, that people are flying private because when you fly private, there's no restrictions to you, and that's completely false.
No, because the country has been really strong on the implementation of the restriction. That has been totally clear. But I'm listening what you are saying, and it's true that there are, we know that now the customer has new requests. They need to be safe and feel safe, and also to get information, communication, rely on the operation. So you are getting some advantages on that. And in our case, what we are doing, and we have been really strong on that during all the pandemic and right now, is giving stability to our network and confirm that if we are going to fly, we are going to fly. So we evaluate according to the restriction if we have opportunities to maintain an operation, and if we launch, like now that we have 10 flights to New York or 10 flights to Miami, we are going to maintain that network to give confidence in all sense to this customer. I think this is also important, not that they know that we have a proper network and that they don't buy and then the flight is going to change. We have followed this strategy along the pandemic, and we continue with that, and it's been very good for the confidence with our customers and the recovery of the business. And also looking for new destination, as you are saying. Maldives is a destination that we have been operating. We are going to operate also
Absolutely.
now we did it that last summer. We are going to do now also in December, January, in the peak season of the winter, because it's true that there is a demand of other kind of destinations, and we need to look for it and for these opportunities also.
Absolutely. Building on a little bit more on what you said, believe it or not, that strategy that Iberia followed impacted private aviation as well. Because the more, in the end, big airlines are the mirror where all the passengers will be trying to measure how the industry is, how it's behaving, what the situation is, the status. No? So the more confidence you were creating on people, the more requests we were having as well.
Exactly.
And that's
it's like a circle. It's like a circle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's actually what they're saying, that it's a strong hidden demand for flying and for enjoying life, you know, and of course we all would like to go to the Maldives, no? And I think that's happening already. I mean, you see how the streets are, you know, booming up, you know, with youngers and not so youngers. I mean, people really like to go out and of course enjoy vacations. One question is also about the COVID. In your personal opinion, because I know this has a lot of implications with health procedures, but do you think technology will be strong enough to accommodate good air conditioning or air cleaning machines in order to take away masks? Do you see aviation without masks in the future? And this is, you know, your own personal opinion, because there's a lot of regulation behind, but how's your thought about this?
The thing that I can say, because it's true that at the end this is connecting with regulations, but with or without the mask, what I can say is that in the aircraft, it's totally safe because of the HEPA filters. So the conditions inside the aircraft are 99.99% of confident that nothing is going to happen. But I think that this is also connecting, also to have the mask is also connected to the personal security that you have. If you get it and you get it around, no? At the end, it's everything connecting with regulation, but with or without the mask, in the aircraft, it's totally safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same in private aviation. We have spent much time explaining to our customers how the aircraft, the air of the aircraft is renewed. We, in some aircraft, right now in private aviation, you can even give technology to customers in order to control how much the air gets ventilated. So they feel in control of their own safety, which is very interesting. We keep wearing masks. If you ask me when I think that would be, if I was completely honest with you, I think in our case it's nothing to do with restrictions. It's much more of regulation. It's much more to do. I think we will stop wearing masks the day the passengers ask the crew not to wear masks. I think that will be the moment. That will be the moment, and that will happen. I'm sure it will happen. But so far, we keep wearing them. Of course, all the crew on private aviation are fully vaccinated as well, and that's not a problem. But the role that technology can play on this, on COVID-related fears, is, I would say, is pretty much on two sides. As I said before, avoiding touch points. The more I can do on digital tools, the less surfaces I need to be touching on my journey. Just to give you a sense of the comparison between commercial aviation and private aviation, we have evaluated studies that say that on a regular passenger on an airline has around 700 to 800 touch points within the entire process. When it comes to us, it's 24. So the difference is big. However, it's never enough. If you can reduce that to zero using technology, that's the best thing. And the second one, as I was saying before, is giving customers the option to control those tiny things. The air conditioning, the ventilation, some new models from new manufacturers even give you the possibility of having full information of how the HEPA filters are being effective in your flight on your app. So you can kind of see on your mobile how many viruses the HEPA filter has managed to kill on your flight. And yeah, I think technology has an important role to play here.
Okay, changing gears a little bit. We've talked a little bit about network frequencies. The ones that we are getting back to flying, we see that, of course, the situation is not like 2 years ago, where we've seen, I used to do a lot of Madrid-Lisbon, Madrid-Paris, Madrid-London, and I don't know, Madrid-Paris, maybe like 40 flights, 50 flights a day. Now we've gone down maybe to like 10, 15. I think it's improving, but when do you think, if it's possible, if it's feasible to say maybe a date or an approximation, that we will get back to the network that we had 2 years ago in terms of frequency and options? What's your view, Celia?
I think, well, definitely, of course, the worst moment, we have already passed that piece. And I think this summer has been a strong milestone in all this process of recovering, because in principle, here in Spain, but not only in Spain, I think that as I was saying, restrictions are being reduced and the demand is there. So, and we are seeing that at the moment that any rule is removed, the number of booking goes super fast. It's very important that I think that is going to be another key point, that is when the US allow travel, European travel to the US, that all of us are waiting that happen, as it has been announced in November. But I think that this has been already normalized with most of the countries, so we have already recovered like around 70% of our network.
70% from 2019.
From 2019, and our expectation is to increase even more for next year. I think that in 2023, so still 2022 is going to be, not so much in the leisure side that is started to come. I think it's more also in the corporate, that still the corporate traffic is not still back, because this is a process that we are saying. You try one time to fly and then you see that nothing happened and you repeat it, and connecting with the corporates, for example, we need to come back to the office. That is a process that is already happening, but not everywhere. So as soon as that happens, corporate will start to travel more and more. So I think that still we are going to need a bit of 2022, but for me 2023 would be the moment in which we will be already almost as we were in 2019. And again, it's a responsibility of all of us in this industry to support that recovery and to facilitate that as much as possible. And other thing that I wanted to say connecting with that is that even though there are traffics or segments of traffic that are not fully recovered still and are going to take a bit more time, there are others that are improving even more. Students, for example, is a traffic that is already coming back super strongly, or traffic connected with VFR or top leisure destinations. In truth, we are really keen to support, like we are here today, to develop new traffic that also make to be less dependent, no? O sea, luxury traffic that this continue in any case. So even though there are traffic that need more time, there are other segments that has even more possibilities than before. So yeah.
So 2023 is right around the corner. So.
End of 2023, so I think that still half one will suffer a bit, but then after the summer.
So I hope next year in Forward Madrid,
exactly.
We are all together and we say, now we are already 100%.
Exactly, we are talking about the new destination and the new opportunities that are already materialized, no?
Yeah, it's always difficult to say.
Yeah, in your case, you were saying that you don't have a network itself,
but in some way we do have a network.
Or repetitive frequencies
Absolutely.
and cities, no?
cities like London, Paris, Geneva, Lisbon, they are back on track.
Even domestics, you were saying also Madrid, Barcelona, Madrid, Marbella, or
Absolutely.
or Ibiza, no?
That's working already. I would say long haul when it comes to the Spanish comfort zone of Latin America is kind of growing now. US is still a question mark because it's supposed to be about to reopen.
Yeah.
I think there will be booming demand to the US and Canada. I'm sure about that.
Me too.
But we still feel, despite we have no network, some destinations of very niche segments of demand, as Celia was mentioning, students, for example, we are not flying at all to Africa yet. It's not a restriction we have. It's people still don't feel safe traveling to countries which they believe might not implement the right measures against COVID. And that's still, there's still a long way to walk on that. And when it comes to corporations, we keep flying corporations. Right now, it's very focused on the C-suite of the company. We used to see more middle,
Middle management?
Middle management flying with us as well, which is not the case now. And I would be interested in evaluating, assessing a little bit, maybe in the next forward, as you were saying, we can tell more in detail how it is impacting, how private aviation is impacted by all these video conferences and new methodology of working. I used to be tremendously optimistic about these things because I remember when email was coming up, suddenly people thought nobody would travel. People traveled. When Microsoft Teams was created before COVID, people say that would basically change the way we do business. It really didn't. But now it's different because the problem right now is not that people are not needing aircraft to fly because they can do it on video conference. It's that people are not even going to the office. And many people have moved to live far away from airports. And right now, even if they could fly private aviation, that's no longer comfortable for them. And that's creating like an interesting paradigm that we will see in probably 2023, I would say as well. Yeah, the real result will be there.
Yeah, it's going to take a time. Especially that segment is going to take a time. That's true. But we were talking yesterday here, we were at night, that we have the cocktail, and I was talking with some of the guests and participants, and we say to do new business, digital, just using Teams or Zoom, that's really impossible.
Yeah.
To maintain your business, to maintain the relation, to engage your team, you can do for a time. But to develop new relation, new business, digitally, quite complex.
It's difficult. No, I agree, and I think we all agree that it's Teams, video conference, Zoom, it's really good to maintain the contacts, but if you need to close a deal, if you really need to be close to your client, you've got to be there. And if it's a long way, at the end, you have to fly. This happened to me like 3 weeks ago. I wasn't flying to Lisbon like for 1 year, and we were having these conversations in Teams, and then I went to Lisbon, and in 1 day, and then I came back,
many things
and
you close?
I forgot about the value of going there, being with your client, 5 hours, having a lunch with them or whatever, enjoying, of course, business, but also, talking about the families, and coming back with the deal, with the agreement, in 1 day. And I was saying, I was, in the plane flying, I say, I'm sure that with a video call, this would have been impossible. And it was good to bring me back that memory of the joy and the value of flying in terms of business and really achieving those results. So I think that's to come. It's going to be slowly coming. There's a lot of uncertainty yet, but I'm sure that everybody that comes back to flying will see and say, oh, this is really valuable. This is really valuable.
Absolutely. Plus, I believe that there's no doubt after 1.5 years of Zoom and Teams that when you go to any meeting, when you attend any meeting, the focus people put into the meeting, the attention they pay on a video call is nothing to do with face-to-face. I mean,
Exactly.
it's a different story.
And in addition, the confidence that you generate that at the end, we are humans, we need contact, and this help a lot in everything, So no, I really believe that it's going to come back. It's going to take a bit of time, what is normal, on the other hand, no? From the situation that we are, that we have had. But this experience is, as I was saying, you try one time and you say, okay, we need this, we need this. And it's also that we need to change our mindset again, doing these things.
Yeah. Whenever that happens, we will be there to help. So.
Exactly.
Looking in the midterm, I would say, not just in the short term, what would you say are the main challenges for achieving a sustainable air business model or air transportation business in the midterm? I would say 2-3 years. What would be your challenges or your thoughts about this?
For us, I would say is slightly more difficult than for commercial aviation. Reason being that traditionally commercial aviation has many times defended itself when it comes to emissions by working on the ratio of emissions per passenger that gives you like a very reasonable in some ways. That's something we can discuss further, but reasonable amount of emissions per passenger. In our case, it's different because most of our aircraft are almost empty. It's probably 1, 2, 3, 4 passengers, 19 in the largest aircraft we have. So basically, trying to explain why flying a private aircraft is sustainable, it's difficult. It's difficult. And we don't really have that preconception of a nice thing to do in some way. Flying, at least in some countries, still flying a private jet is not seen as something you should be doing, especially in periods like now. So how do we challenge that? We are fully green when it comes, and when I say we, it's not just my company. Some other companies have followed us. I must say that I'm very proud that my company has been pioneering this trend on compensating 100% of the emissions that our aircraft emit when flying passengers. And that it's compensated by our own company. It's nothing to do with the passenger. Passengers can easily claim their certificate if they need it for tax purposes or for social corporate social responsibility, and that's what we do. Actually, the trend in the industry, in our industry now, is that some companies are going even further and are compensating and giving the opportunity to compensate 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount of emissions that you generate. And that's the biggest challenge for us when it comes to being sustainable.
Yeah. No, I see. And it's true that it's a challenge. It's a challenge in any case, but it's also a responsibility that we need to manage, and we need to be able to commit to be more sustainable. In many cases, to put always in context, so we always say that the level of CO2 emission that in the industry we have is 2%. Also to put in context, but it's true that is something that is not, we cannot substitute, and we need to be committed to find ways to reduce as much as possible. In Iberia, and also in the group in IAG, we have been working already for a long time on this, and I mean, we have our main driver of reducing the emissions is having a more efficient fleet, removing the old aircraft that we have that were the ones that have higher volumes of emissions. We are doing that already, and we have a commitment to reduce in 2025, that is, as you are saying, for years, 10% of our current emission. We are doing already, in any case, year by year, to get that number. And also we are investing to get fuel, sustainable fuel, to find the ways that can also help on that way, with the long-term commitment of, that is very far still, but to get zero net emissions in 2050, which is still far away, but we know that we have a process, a long process to work on that, and we are really doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting because despite in all our conversations, we have found big differences between both businesses, even though they are on the same industry. Here, everything is pretty similar.
Yeah.
We all feel we have to. We all feel we have to have it as a priority. We both, both our companies are pioneering on
look for ways.
Yeah, yeah. On green flying in our country, and I guess you may have the same sort of feeling, but we are starting to see that some customers come to us because they know we compensate emissions. It's a key selling point right now.
No, it's at the end, sustainability is a responsibility of the society. It's not just us. So it's exactly what you are saying. We have customers. Also in the corporations world, it's a requirement. All of us are concerned about that, and we need to look for ways to compensate and to be more efficient and to contaminate less. So having clear that if you fly, you are going to have emissions, but how you can do it in a better way. Also, technology here is helping us, because, and I suppose that in your industry is also important in your segment, because to help to have a clearest view of the trip, the weather, everything very adjusted, help with the fuel and with the emissions. So we are also doing a lot of improvement on that side to try to reduce as much as possible. So working a lot on it.
That's important. However, I must mention something which when it comes to flying green, I have always read and heard, and I think the spotlight has been pretty much traditionally on operators, which, of course, we are fully responsible of our emissions and doing the best we can to compensate and to be neutral. But I think the spotlight should also move a little bit closer also to the aircraft manufacturers. I think the real green aviation will come when new aircraft are developed using electricity, nitrogen, biofuels, and that's happening, and we have all read on the media about this or that new passenger aircraft which runs with electricity, and that's starting to happen as well when it comes to private jets as well. We are still far away from that, and it's not just far away from having that aircraft that flies based on electricity. It's about having that aircraft and all of us being happy to jump in and fly with electricity. And that's going to take time. Yeah. But the really real green aviation comes with that sort of developments from manufacturers, in my opinion.
Also, green aviation is a core matter of sustainability. What about economic sustainability? How do you see the challenges for the next, I would say, 2-3 years in terms of making the aviation profitable?
We haven't, the plans we have on the table and the calculations we have made and the sort of scenarios we're considering, we are not really seeing a big increase in costs derived from operating in a more sustainable way. So I I don't want to say something that I will regret about in 3-4 years' time, but I don't think that's going to make our particular market, our industry, less profitable.
Okay.
I think that even if there was some extra cost, it will come with a much more mentalized and committed demand as well.
Yeah.
That who will be happy to share that cost with the operator, I think.
It's true. It's going to be in the demand, that is going to be also more commitment on that. So partially is going to be covered there. And also we are talking also about efficiency that has an impact in the cost. So I think that if you join both things, not necessarily is that we are going to be less profitable. It's just to balance again, having both parameters. Because this is also, so we talk also about sustainability, emissions, but also about efficiency.
Efficiency. Okay, thank you. I mean, I think we've talked about many items here, and it's good to see that we are working in a sustainable, global, and safe aviation business for the next years, also after this pandemic that has impacted globally. We still have a couple of minutes, like 4 minutes. If there are any questions from the audience, we'll be happy to take them. I think we've got a micro, so if anyone wants to pose a question. Where? I don't see you very well because of the lights. Okay.
I think
the micro is not on, but maybe if you're going to speak up.
Maybe we can hear.
Okay.
No. Yes.
So I'm Piet from Belgium. My question is, for our more luxury travelers, when you go on a cruise, you can have Wi-Fi during the cruise. Is this possible in airplanes also, to have Wi-Fi while you're flying or not?
The technology, to have Wi-Fi in the aircraft, I think yes, that technology is already developed for the long haul and for the short and medium haul. In our case, we have already that in all the operation. It's true, we have improved. At the beginning, it was not so good, the connectivity, but now it's working very well. So yeah, this technology already exists and we have implemented. And I suppose that you also in your, of course, in all of the flights.
In private aviation, in private jets, we do have Wi-Fi availability. It is, of course, not as I wouldn't say as reliable as the one on the ground. It's not as fast, but it's more than enough for working and sending emails, receiving text messages, and even doing some social networks. But yeah, it's definitely many people tend to confuse the lack of reliability of Wi-Fi on board with the fact that when you are flying, you are not allowed to provide that service on overflying absolutely any territory. So you have some restrictions as well.
That's true.
So depending on the route you follow, you may have ons and offs. But it's pretty reliable. People like it. People use it, and well, of course, we sell it as a way to make the most of your time on board.
Exactly, if you want, because we have also some customers that say, I prefer not to be in touch, so I don't want to use this technology because
I want to disconnect.
It was my space to be just for myself. So, but if you need it, of course, and you.
Yeah, in our case, it happens. People tend to use it because they also upload many pictures.
Yeah.
It's not every day that you fly on a private jet, so they like to post on Instagram and
Selfie.
selfies and all
It's
that.
something special, definitely.
Extra cost? Does it come with an extra cost? Does the customer has to pay extra for that or not?
I think all these things that are around, at least in our case, in the normal airlines. I mean, you have the fare, and then you can put all the attributes that you want. We call this ancillaries, no? Wi-Fi or more luggage or any kind of benefit that you can add to the trip. It depends. it depends on the fare that you pay. So in some cases it's included, and in other cases it's not included. Depends on the fares. But it's everything that is extra to the flight. We need to make like packages, no? That in some cases you have more things, in other cases you have other things.
In private aviation, it normally gets invoiced after your flight because it's basically a fixed cost per megabyte that you download. So at the end of the flight, you can control how much consumption has happened and invoice the customer for that consumption. Other very common practices in the industry is to sell bundles to the passengers, like X euros for whatever amount of gigabytes or megabytes, and then that's fixed cost with no surprises. And but it's fully available. Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you for your question. We ran out of time, and it was a pleasure to be with you, and I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.
Thank you.